tally up your losses. Your fate is sealed way before the card flips. You marks ain't topic of discussion. They ain't talking about nothing. Keep their noses in the sump. Y'all ain't talking about shit. I hear them wolfing in the whispers, snakes in the grass. We ain't thinking about your ass. Y'all ain't talking about shit. Fucking lying, I ain't buying. Ain't nobody even trying to hear that dumb shit you kickin'. Y'all ain't talking about shit. Find yourself some business, get yourself a life and skedaddle, motherfucker. Y'all ain't talking about shit. Unlike the players, y'all engage in betrayal. So brave, do anything for the day they can slay you. So devious, even if you can't even see the hate. I don't need to plead my case till you please. I seize the day. Feast off your mistakes from the cleanest of plates. Palate of a pharaoh, it's all seasoned to taste. A vision of perfection, at least 3 in my face. Fanning me with feathers, tease me with grace. I can't conceive defeat, nor will I concede the race to these conceited lames that can't believe my pace. So intrigued by my intriguing display that intrigues the brain.
A1. Yes, sir, I like how that sound right there, man. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of inspirational. It's like everybody got a goal. They're trying to reach or alive. They're trying to live, man. Be bumps in the road. You gotta keep pushing forward. You know what I'm saying? If it don't kill you, it make you strong. You know what I'm saying? My story right here. Yeah. It takes a special kind of mind to grind and work from the bottom and climb up the ladder of success in time. It doesn't matter what the test is. Every step is another level till I step in as the next in line. No question. I'm considered one of the best. My whole life invested in holding mics and sketching rhymes. You guessed it. I'm on mine, still restless. Yes, even pressed up my records on my own dime. As many battles I blew breath in and open mics I blessed. I'll never be labeled an overnight success. Passing out CDs, doing shows for free. Then dabbing Bo to eat so that my soul could speak over these soulful beats that's so cold to me. Like the breeze in the shower, we be posted deep. All the prices that I paid, the sacrifices I made, it'll all come to life one day, someday. Just be patient, man. Bumps the road ain't nothing. Rotate, doesn't stop nothing. Check it out. Look, I remember it like yesterday, trying to get my record played at a radio station where they play hits for days. Having a conversation with this lady I'm facing while she making a statement made for me. She said, look, it's too many words in your hook. You need to work on your look. For what it's worth, I never took her words personal. But at first I wasn't certain though if she knew my words are personal and not just verses and books until the curtain closes. This is my version of what I know, learning in first person till I blow. And still I know how it feels to know I'm the deal. Did you still feel like a deal is just right, or a deal just might still add to my appeal? But they won't know I'm real till I touch my first million, right? I'ma chill till my bars is felt and play my hand with the cards I'm dealt. And that's the plan till it's solved itself. Yo, it's damn near impossible to shop music without lots of loot to maneuver and make moves with. So I stay in tune with my pursuit. Fuck trying to recoup, I'm trying to juke and move units. The truth is, I'm used to excuses. Dudes give like you can. Do what I do, food and prove it. Walk in my shoes then. I'm used to goofy producers and cools that try to misuse you quick. Why you got it confused? If you think it's about groupie chicks and interviews in a mix, it ain't got ghouly, but I truly got the tools to overcome obstacles, including this music biz. I'ma shine like jewels, unlike these Rubik's Cube dudes with all this woo 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 when they spit. Mick Luda is the future, so get used to this. It's day one, not a crew or clique. It's a new beginning.
murdered in a weekend. Homicides on women are increasing. 12 blinking at us for no reason. Feel like we going off the deep end. They still ain't found Kiara Cole. Reported missing about a year ago. And she was pregnant with a little one. Her family praying for a miracle. Taxi being Kanika ain't get no justice. Where the energy they have for Jussie Smollett. I done heard every theory, but where the suspects? Ain't no luck, yeah. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears for Chicago. I pray we don't get lost in all our sorrow. I say I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears for Chicago. We don't know if we gon' let us see tomorrow. No. Woman found dead, baby cut out of her womb. I wish it wasn't true. Another woman shot down while her baby in her arms. Can somebody call a truce? This is genocide, honestly. We still remember Tyshawn Lee. I'm implementing new policies, trying to save the generation under me. We gotta drop the sticks and put the poles up. Your man is a weapon, you need to load up. I couldn't imagine losing one of my daughters.
Don't shoot, I wanna glow up. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears for Chicago. I pray we don't get lost in all our sorrow. I say I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears. I'm crying real tears for Chicago. We don't know if we gon' live to see tomorrow. No.
We out west with it, where we live illegal, leaning off a leader, riding regal, tipping scales like Libras. Inhale, no L's, pulling out blocks like Jenga. In the rear of a Caprice's Billy Rams, flicking decent nonetheless. Nothing less than tens for the speakers. You'll hear us before you see us with beats that beat the streets up. Yeah. So try and keep up and keep it low key, cuz police try and treat us and keep us on a leash, cuz that's how they see us, thinking we nuts. Cuz we'll die for the ground beneath us, because this land made us. This land made of players that stay on paper. That's how we came up amongst the mayhem to the day when we display what we made of. The game can never change us, the West Side teaches. On these streets where you find that D before G. We out west with it, back down, trying to flip a dollar. If you looking, then we got it, you just got a bit of plot. We out west with it, riding clean, wetter than the sea. On the scene with a full tank, blowing AC. We out west with it, I'm posted, let me know what y'all on. Cause if y'all get on something, then just hit my phone. We out west with it, yes sir. Hustle for every penny in the trenches, but we turn struggle into strength. Smell the grind in the air, take a whiff. Only the nose knows the aroma. Compose the money rolls that fold up, holding cold cups. Searching for those that got the purple O's for the $4. And we could go nuts and stay at the stove like gross us, and post up with O's on the table like coasters. That's how the game coached us, made us all in the soldiers. Now that dough is the focus, so know that we own this. Molded by the hood role models, riding good, the latest model, drinking good, raising bottles like we just missed a pothole. You got to know that it's impossible to stop our flow. We've seen it all from watching cops reload 30s a dro while drinking the night away until the block got slow. You'll know as soon as you see us, we the ones laid back in the cut. My demeanor seems to always give me up. We out west with it, back down, trying to flip a dollar. If you looking, then we got it. You just got a bit of plot. We out west with it, riding clean, wetter than the sea, on the scene with a full tank, blowing AC. We out west with it. I'm posted, let me know what y'all on, cause if y'all get on something, then just hit my phone. We out west with it. Yes sir, hustle for every penny in the trenches, but we turn struggle into strength. Yeah, home of the survivor, survival of the fittest in the town. It's wicked, you can J down in a minute. What am? What's the business? The biz is how you down and get it. From Cape Town, the fifth city that sounds the fifth's empty. When we tipsy, it's risky. Where the lick be, at least 10 deep. It tempts me, but there's no mystery. Where the chips be, the tips G. Just our history from the 60s. Pimping ain't easy, but we bleed it. This here game is in our veins, in the air we breathe in. Believe this, it's no game, but the key is your mouthpiece fit your game. But believe, turn nothing into something. We suffer without suffer long enough. Struggling from summer to summer, the same place where the dope is sold. It's home to the Oprah show, the same place I know is home. We out west with it, back down, trying to flip a dollar. If you looking, then we got it. You just got up in a block. We out west with it, riding clean, wetter than the sea, on the scene with a full tank, blowing A.
I ain't fucking with them busters, I ain't fucking with them bluffing ass, nothing ass motherfuckers neither. So when you catch me at the show, this shit ain't just for show. So I gave my nigga Lou the Desert Eagle. Then it's right back on the grind. I hustle till I shine. I don't hear no fear, no evil. Make it 40 off a dime, waiting some other time, but the people try to tell me it's illegal.
Am I my brother's keeper? Hell nah, I dig ditches, put you bitches in a sleeper. When you see us, keep it moving like the meter, we off the meat. Meet me at the meeting to miss your beat while I'm riding off, smelling like Sunny D. Imperial like the pyramid, as I push the pen again. My experiences appearing Shakespearean. So passes with no interference when I send them in. If you mention him, then you mention in the syndicate. The inventor of that vintage lit, you know who get the busiest. Sawbucks, double nickel, 55th. Look, I'm a businessman, I can't let these busybodies hear me in. Hence, simply put, I put an end to them. You won't risky, come with me, it's done quickly. This is Chi-Town, Joe. The bros and the folks with me. Home of Tao, Cokes and 150s. Deep joints, cush jabs, corrupt politicians that run the city.
I ain't fucking with them busters, I ain't fucking with them bluffing ass, nothing ass motherfuckers neither. So when you catch me at the show, this shit ain't just for show. So I gave my nigga Lou the Desert Eagle. Then it's right back on the grind. I hustle till I shine. I don't hear no fear, no evil. Make it 40 off a dime, waiting some other time, but the people try to tell me it's illegal. The homies saying fuck y'all, I just wanna live good, but they know I'm still down, so they know I'm still hood. Standing in the sand with the water, but it's still mud. I ain't heard from Sly in a while, but we still blood. Got locked, came out on papers, he still plug. Northside nigga show me definition, real thug. Southside nigga show the little nigga real love. Family out in California, crippin', man, they real cuz. Homie said, gon' kill the hook, gon' kill the verse. You done killed the competition, go ahead, kill the hearse, and then kill the first. New nigga who figured that he can do you worse. So I murder everything, set him in the church. The last a fly, nigga. When you get down in the hill, tell him I say hi, nigga. With them goofies and them other gay bye niggas. When you lower in the ground, I'm yelling bye, nigga. I ain't fucking with them busters, I ain't fucking with them bluffing ass, nothing ass motherfuckers neither. So when you catch me at the show, this shit ain't just for show. So I gave my nigga Lou the Desert Eagle. Then it's right back on the grind. I hustle till I shine. I don't hear no fear, no evil. Make it 40 off.
That's why we shine wherever we go. We shine wherever we go. We shine wherever we go. We shine wherever we go, Lord, Lord. Welcome to the mind of a pothead. On my head, see a young nigga got dressed. We don't give a fuck what a cop said. I'm living a legacy. So even when I die, I am not dead. Nigga, I am not dead. Fuck with me.
Great afternoon to you wonderful people. Welcome to this Wednesday edition of I Said What I Said. We are live from inside the What's In It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Toussaint Werner. My name is Howard. Each and every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. we get together right here with you and we discuss issues that are currently impacting the black community, how those issues impact us as individuals, but also how they impact us as a collective. And along with your help, we talk through many of these issues in the hopes of finding the optimum solutions for how we can overcome said issues. Again, we want to overcome them as individuals, but for the sake of this conversation, more importantly, we want to overcome them as a collective. We thank y'all so very, very much for choosing to be a part of this conversation. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. As always, your input is valued here. Anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free to do so. We will read through as many of your comments as possible while we go through the show. We would kindly request you please take a quick second to share the broadcast. Share it on your personal page. Share it even within your personal network with absolutely anyone that you think would find value in this conversation or add value to this conversation. We believe that the more like-minded individuals we can get to be a part of it, the better the opportunities we have of reaching those aforementioned solutions. So please, 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 if you would be so kind, take a quick second to share the broadcast. Again, this is I Said What I Said. It's intellectual thuggery at its absolute finest. My name is Herb. His name is Two. Would you get your balls waxed?
So hello, everybody. I'm blessed and highly favored.
Your genitals. your genitals. Would you get them waxed like hair removal?
I'm blessed and highly favored. It's a good day out here. The weather's nice. I rode my bike today.
Hair removal. You know,
I don't know what he's on.
They put like hot wax on there.
You know what I'm saying?
They got like soft ones. They got hard ones.
Hey, Ron, did you share from the I Said What I Said?
You know what I'm saying?
My man. Appreciate you, brother.
Would you ever partake in? Would you ever?
So we doing this solo today, Ron? Me and you.
Activity?
I can't believe it.
Huh? Would you ever?
Who knew?
Would you
know
ever?
What I mean? We could have started on time.
Would you ever? Would you ever experience? Would you ever go through with that such a process too, son?
So how's your day, bro?
Oh, I'm having a good day, man. It's beautiful outside. I'm feeling good. Just curious, Figured I'd ask you if you would ever, go through wax hair removal of your genitalia.
Negro, I won't go to get my nails done like y'all. What do you think is going on here? Fuck out of here.
You don't know how long I've been waiting. I've been waiting since like 8 o'clock in the morning just to start the show with that shit. Okay?
You need a hobby.
Just to mess with you.
Yeah, you need a hobby. That's too much.
So is that no or?
So know what?
Is that a no? You wouldn't do that?
I know how to disregard anything that has no interest in my life.
Just tell me to hit the button, too.
Hit the button, G.
Nigga, you gay.
Hit the button.
That's not gay.
You know how when we having them guests in here that I fully can't even have a conversation no more and I just shut up? I'm a professional, G. I just okay. I ain't finna argue with the fool.
I'm gonna say that's a no for. I'm gonna say that's a no for two.
No, that's your thing. No, hey, man, I support you, man. Whatever you into, man. I'm no judge.
I'm not a stranger to it. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not a stranger to it at all.
Bless your heart.
Actually, did it yesterday.
I bless your heart. Bless your heart. I believe you too.
I'm telling the truth.
Hey, bless your heart. Bless your heart.
It gets hot. It gets hot in the summertime. Nobody needs all that.
Whatever works for you.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I mean? Hey, I don't care.
Plus the frequency and the quality of your fellatio goes through the roof after said process. Trust me.
Okay. Yeah, salute, man.
Yeah?
Salute.
Cool.
I mean, what you want from me? You know what I'm saying? Hey, glad it's working for you. Hey, you like it, I love it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my God. Life is funny, and then you die. Hope all of you all out there are doing quite well and considering getting waxed. Ladies and gentlemen. You know?
Hey, man, bless your heart, man. Whatever you into, I support it. You know what I mean?
Give it a shot.
Yeah, man.
So, you like any type. What about you, Ron?
I ain't never got no wax.
Would you consider it?
Hit the button, Ron. Hit the button, Ron. You took too long to answer. Hit the button, Ron.
I'm not hitting it on myself.
Nigga, you gay.
Why is it gay?
It just seems like it's not worth it.
It's not worth. Yeah, it's painful. Temporary though. It's temporary pain, and the reward, it's worth it. In my humble opinion, it's like a tattoo. Tattoos are painful, but it's temporary pain, and you get art forever. This temporary pain, you get.
Art for like 2 days.
It is kind of artistic now that you mention it. Yeah, you get art for a couple weeks, and you like I said, your fellatio experience is heightened. Nah, you good? You passing on that?
Yeah, I gotta give it a dog.
Do y'all do any type of manscaping?
I will shave, yeah.
Okay.
I'm not waxing though.
Okay, cool. Just asking. Manscaping?
Fam, why is we talking about my nuts in here, man? I don't understand this. I'm confused.
Candace said we 22 minutes in, Herb has already crossed the line.
Already. He's a habitual line crosser, you know what I'm saying? Habitual, you know what I mean?
All right. I guess we can start the
So
show.
no, I'm cool.
No, we're just going.
I mean, I'm a
caveman
hairy
it.
dude, so I don't, I groom myself.
That's all I was
in
asking.
totality,
That's
brother.
all I was asking. You know, a little manscaping, a little groomage.
Yeah,
or if we out here in fucking Serengeti, fucking rainforest or some shit. I guess that's not the same thing. It's kind of the opposite, ain't it? I don't know.
You know, I don't know where this is going.
All right, y'all. I'm done playing with Toussaint, man. Anyhow, appreciate y'all tuning into the show today. For real. Hope y'all are doing well. Shout out to everybody that's watching on Facebook. Shout out to everybody that is watching on YouTube. Whether you are watching on the What's In It for the Black People Media page or the I Said What I Said page. With scissors, ready, rock. That sounds painful and dangerous.
Unless you got skill.
So you do use scissors?
So Alvin said he's watching the city hall conversations happening right now. I don't know why I even said that shit. I should have just let it go and just kept it pushing. Because I know he don't know how to stop. You know what I mean? I know he don't know how to stop.
I'm done, man. I was curious. I was curious. I just wanted to know if it was a thing or not. Anyhow, really, I just wanted to entertain myself. But appreciate y'all, man, tuning in. See some people watching on the I Said What I Said page. We greatly appreciate y'all. Juliet say so much sharing. Yeah, I'm a sharer.
Herb overshares all the time.
What's oversharing?
You know, that's what creates the balance in here.
Yeah, the
Because I ain't sharing shit.
the yin and yang from us is absolutely hilarious to me, and I think it's one of the best things about this show is that like for all the ways that we're very similar and alike, we are very different in some ways, and that balance plays out, and it's entertaining, and it also works when we talk about serious shit too. So I appreciate that. I will say this, man. This I've been noticing this a lot lately. We are around each other so much now that our clothes pattern has got on the same.
Yeah, that's gay.
It's like synced
I'm
up.
have to go against what I usually want to put on because it's starting to get ridiculous.
It's like
it look like we got on the t-shirts to be like, I'm with him, she's with me type of shit. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
if lost, return me the bag. I'm back. Look at
real
that.
matchy today.
Yeah, but it's been happening like relative frequency of late. And I was telling Tu this probably Monday. I'm like, man, we around each other so much that our clothes pattern has kind of gotten on the same wavelength, and so we just keep putting on the same shit every time. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, we gotta stop doing that though.
Remember like 2 years ago we was doing the show in your kitchen and we both had on like a pink shirt or sweater or some shit?
And somebody was in the comments gaying us out.
Okay. We was all kind of butt pirates. It was, I mean, he went for like 3 hours, whoever it was. Like,
He went in. He did go in.
we didn't know who it was because when we was doing it like that, that's when it was hundreds of people just always on the thing. And so some random dude was just going in on us for the whole time. That shit was hilarious though.
Yeah, man.
We gotta stop. Whatever you decide, whatever you think you're gonna put on Friday,
All black from this point forward.
switch.
All black. Khaki suits, goddammit.
It's like women's cycle in sync. Yep, that's what it's like, Miriam. It's like women's cycle in sync. Women be around each other a lot of times. Their cycles will sync up sometimes.
Yeah, I heard that before.
Yeah, that's interesting. You ever? It's like women's cycle. I was like, whoa, I hear me again. And they had Reese on the Maze Jackson show this morning. He was on the board for the Maze Jackson show, and Maze had him do the fucking Star Wars, the Luke, I am your father thing, and to hear that shit in Reese's voice is hilarious. Like,
Crazy.
his voice, it sounded like he was supposed to do it. Like I decided I'm gonna start calling him Reese Earl Jones. Cause
Did you see the show, the Maze Jackson show this morning?
I saw some of it. I woke up early this morning for just foolishness.
So I stole a clip from the show this morning.
Okay.
because he was having a conversation. He opened up the phone line. He was having a conversation about weed, and he was having a conversation about politics, specifically about running a black slate of candidates, but not even having the expectation to win, but really just to kind of, I don't know, straighten out the landscape per se.
Okay.
Right.
That's what I was trying to get you to do at the top of the show. Straighten out your manscape. Come on, bro.
I said landscape, not manscape.
My bad.
But it's an interesting concept, and it's not a new concept. But in that, he was saying, we should run some candidates that would just challenge these white candidates on a black slate, and a black slate that they wouldn't waver from. You know what I mean? That they wouldn't capitulate for the vote. They would just stand strong and say, hey, this is what it is for black people. And only try to win in areas where black people specifically vote heavily. You know what I mean? So you probably wouldn't win the election, but you would kind of create an atmosphere where anything less than whatever that person was stating wouldn't be acceptable. Right. Because that's just the truth. Right. You know what I mean? And he threw out some names. He was like, how about Herb Howard? How about Toussaint Werner running for governor? And then he was like, I'm just throwing out names to minimize it. But the fact that he said it was too late. So I stole this shit. I was like, yeah, well, look, I'm keeping this.
we gonna make a drop of that. We gonna play
and
that.
Shout out to RO Double, because I wasn't tuned in, but RO Double tagged me like, man, come listen to this shit.
You ain't believe. Somebody come look at this shit. It's okay, Maze. We know.
Ready Rocket here talking about her period with her sister. You've taken this shit too far. The whole comments is about your lines crossing shit now.
No, this is natural shit, man.
You got butt pirates in the comment. You got I sync up with my sister in the comment. It's going crazy.
Tell you what, send your computer over here, right? Because there's a video I want to play, and since we're on the topic, we might as well play it right now. Send your computer over here and sync up to the Rogue back there. And there's a video that I sent to your Instagram, I think.
We gotta wait for Ron to come back from whatever break he's taking, because he takes breaks when he feels like it.
I'm a boss.
Yeah, he moves around when he feel like it. Yeah, man. Manager, man.
Oh, you know what? I didn't send it to you, but I know where it's at. I'm finna send it to you. We want to sync up to the road.
Sync up to the road. I'm on there. Okay.
Okay, let me send this to your Instagram inbox. And
manager.
Go. All right. I think it's the last thing I sent to your Instagram inbox.
I'm on there. Okay.
Big face white boy.
Big face white boy.
Big face white boy. I don't got your computer over here though.
I sent it. So what they say, ready.
Okay. Well, maybe this is your computer then. Are you looking at something?
Before you launch my computer, make sure.
Yeah, no, this ain't your computer. I don't think. Resend it, if you be so kind, because that's something else. At least I hope. At least I hope that's something else. Nope.
Nothing happening.
No bueno.
I'm sending it.
No bueno.
I'm taking the other one off.
Yeah, I did. I took whatever that thing was off.
So obviously we don't know what we're doing in here.
We are failing at life right now.
But if I'm hooked up to the Rogue, if it's just sound, you can still play the sound, right?
Right, that'll work. We just need the sound.
Okay.
So you can run it from there.
All right, I'm gonna do that. I'm running it now, Ron. And nothing is happening.
You got your volume up?
I got my volume up, Ron. Oh, no, I don't.
Want chocolate, they want attention.
We're gonna try it one more time.
Yeah, run it back.
It was Ron's fault though, either way.
Periods don't exist. And no, I don't mean punctuation, I mean the whole menstrual myth. The idea that once a week, every month for their entire adult lives, women bleed from their genitals, I just don't believe it. It's a complete hoax. They just want chocolate, they want attention. It's BS. My genitals have never bled. And I know lots of women, and I have never seen their genitals bleed. And therefore, it just doesn't exist. There might be one or two women out there who have experienced bleeding, but it's a small number, and it's by choice. They could stop bleeding if they wanted to. They like the attention. Everything I just said was complete and utter bull. I wanted you to hear how it sounds when white people claim that systemic racism doesn't exist because it doesn't happen to them. Periods don't exist. And no,
I got the point.
I thought it was well done.
I was about to say, I'm about to cut this shit out.
Me too. I thought it was very, very well done by The big face white boy.
The big face white.
Because
big face hundreds.
he's got such a face that it looks like he would actually say some shit like what he was saying, right? And so I'm like, what is he talking about? He's fucking wilding right now. And he's like, everything I said was complete bullshit. I just want you to know what it sounds like when white people say systemic racism doesn't exist because it's never happened to them.
Yeah, I thought we was off track.
That's kind of how it sounds, right?
I came in here with some intellectual shit to discuss, and I was like, we're going down the slippery slope.
We went.
It ain't even Friday. It ain't even Friday. We going down the slippery slope.
When I go low, I go lower. Nah, but I thought that was well done by the young man.
But you know what though? So tomorrow I'm supposed to come in here and chop it up with Sadiq.
Oh, that's what's up.
About the documentary Extermination of the Brutes. Mm-hmm. And I don't know who has and who hasn't seen the Extermination of the Brutes. But if you got access to HBO, if you're still in cable, if you're still in the internet, go see the shit. Because what it does is it erases all of the mythical ideas around racism. It's only a conversation of power. It is it. All that you don't like me, I don't like you. Do we like each other? Can we like one another? All that shit don't matter. Mm-hmm. It's power. I want power, and you can't have none unless you can take it from me. Period. And until we get to that point mentally as a people, I struggle. I eat, which is why the conversation of masculinity is so important to me, because I think that aggression that we're going to have to leverage to, we're going to have to yield to leverage that power has to come from the male gender. You know what I mean? I think that's when we operate in our polarity as protectors. You know what I mean? Because 100%. It's not about leadership in my mind. It's about being that warrior class. And that warrior class ain't about being, I'm strong. Nah. It's about protecting the future, right? And a lot of us are going to lose out in whatever that fight looks like. It just is part of the process. But it's time for us to stand in the popularity of what that fight has got to be. You know what I mean? On that note, I want to talk about this other conversation about, and I'm not minimizing that or moving away from that. It's just part of this same conversation. Yeah. Byron Allen is back in the news because he's now suing McDonald's.
What is Byron Allen suing McDonald's for?
He's suing McDonald's for discrimination around contracts, discriminating against black contracts and black contractors. Right?
Okay.
So very similar to the last lawsuit he put out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he broke down the numbers. And he had his lawyers contact McDonald's the other day, and the day he contacted McDonald's did a U-turn and started saying, put out a press release later on that day, say, hey, we're going to double our investment in the black community that day. But I want to read this article real quick because I think it's very interesting, and it puts into perspective how capitulation works, and you essentially become a bitch. So it says, and this is in the USA Today. It says McDonald's is sued for $10 billion by Byron Allen-owned networks, alleging racial discrimination in ad spending. A $10 billion lawsuit accuses McDonald's of engaging in racial discrimination by refusing to advertise on the networks of Entertainment Studios and Weather Group, which are owned by black media entrepreneur Byron Allen and includes networks such as the Weather Channel. The lawsuit filed Thursday in Los Angeles Superior Court says the fast food chain has tiered advertising structures that differentiate on the basis of race. According to a press release that accompanied the complaint, the company seeks $10 billion in damages and wants the case tried in front of a jury. The complaint alleges that while most of the McDonald's advertising budget allocated for the general market, it maintains a separate African-American tier run by a different advertising company with much smaller budget and less favorable pricing and other terms. How much smaller? McDonald's president and CEO Chris, whatever his last name is, Kinskiski, whatever his name is, makes approximately $11 million per year, which is more than double what McDonald's spends per year on all black-owned media combined. Allen's network says. USA Today has reached out to both McDonald's and Allen companies for a comment.
As of press time, we hadn't heard a response.
Yeah, in his complaint, Entertainment Studio says it was never asked to respond for requests for proposal from the white-owned ad agency that allocates the general market budget, which shut it out for the opportunity to win business. Instead, of Entertainment Studios was forced to compete with African-American media companies in the less favorable African-American tier. In addition, it alleges McDonald's has refused to advertise on the 12 networks of the entertainment studios of even Weather Channel, which Allen bought in 2018. Yada, yada, yada. All this shit is irrelevant. I'm trying to get to a specific point. Okay, here it is. McDonald's total investment in diverse owned partners, including Black, Hispanic, Asian Pacific, American, women, LGBTQ owned platforms, will more than double, moving from 4% to 10% of national advertising spend between 2021 and this is McDonald's responding in their press release. Hey, we're going to double our shit. This is the day they get this lawsuit. They say, hey, we're going to double this shit for everybody.
Right. So we still...
Right. This is the game. This is how stupid we are. And it says we're going to more than double this to 4% to 10% of the national advertising spend between 2021 and 2024. It said in the press release, spend with Black-owned properties specifically will increase from 2% to 5% of national advertising spend over the time period. Think about what that just said. Right? We spend 2% in Black media today. Right? I.e. the 5 million, if that's what 2% represents.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So we're going to double that. We're going to give you fuckers 4.
Right.
So that'll be 10 million, and our CEO makes 11 million. Right? Now, I think this is interesting. McDonald's makes, and this blew my fucking mind, they make $1.8 billion a year. No, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, that seems low to me.
They spend $1.8 billion a year in advertising.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Out of that $1.8 billion a year, we're getting $5 million. Right? Now, they're going to double it to $10 million between now and 2024. So it's going to take us 3 more years to get to this $10 million.
To put $5 million on this.
$1.4 billion that you're spending every fucking year. Right. But here's the number that's even more startling than that. But McDonald's makes $60 billion a year off Black people alone. And spend $5 million in advertising. Now that's interesting because it's not. They do Black targeted advertising, so they go to white companies to talk to Black people. Right now, Alvin said he was watching the City Hall conversation around weed today. Mays had some of that conversation today too, and this is really a very similar conversation because there was some backlash between the group of people who went in to get some of the licensing and how they had distinctly different ideas than the rest of the group, and everybody was like, instead of standing as a group, they went their own way. So some of the backlash about Byron Allen putting forth this lawsuit is like he's just trying to enrich himself. Maybe, you know what I mean. But in essence, the conversation itself enriches the collective because it forces McDonald's hand to bust down in a different way. But 2, we can't be happy with the 2% increase. We can't be happy with a 4% spend in a 3-year time span when you're spending $60 billion a year with this company, which is insane because you shouldn't fucking be eating no McDonald's. Okay. Yeah, I ain't on that super vegan shit because I just did the Sadiq shit. Right. But this is you can leave some fries in your car for 30 years.
They're going to look the same way.
The
burger too.
That shit ain't even food. I don't know what that shit is.
That's just unreal.
I just couldn't believe they was doing that kind of numbers in our community and the dude was getting away with giving us $5 million.
Well, let me push back on it. Right? Let me push back to that. Whose fault is that, too? It ain't. I'm not mad at McDonald's. I'm not mad at McDonald's because I think that there's, in my estimation, there are 3 reasons for that discrepancy in those figures. Number 1, there isn't much Black media. That's like number 1. There aren't a lot of Black media networks for you to even advertise to, right? So naturally, you're going to spend most of your money at ABC, NBC, Fox, whoever's got the biggest football games, biggest baseball games, and all that other shit, right? That's number 1. Radio, print media, same. There's just not much Black-owned media to even give your money to. Number 1, because they can do better, right? Number 2, and my biggest issue with this thing is, you said yourself that they're doing Black targeted ads, but they're selling them to white networks. What does that say about us? Where the fuck are we? Right? If I'm doing Black targeted ads, but I'm selling them to Fox, we must fucking be at Fox, right? If you're trying to reach me, you got to go where I am. So I say, why the fuck we over there? You know what I'm saying? If we weren't over there, it would make no sense. It would be fiscally irresponsible for them to spend that kind of money on black targeted ads and put them on those media platforms. We must be our black asses over there. So there's that piece, right? And then the third thing is, I absolutely fucking forgot my third point. Okay? But I know for sure there's not a lot of black media. And two, we are in these white spaces. If we stay our asses out of there, they can't find us over there. And so while I hear it, right, and I'm 100% in support of Byron Allen and saying, yo, y'all need to run some more bread this way. But if that's where we at, that's where they're going to come find us. And we don't have that much black media in the first place. Yeah. And two, we are in these white spaces. If we stay our asses out of that was a real good point. You want to hear it again? I know.
I thought you were still talking.
You thought it's real?
I swear to God, I didn't realize that was the fucking computer. I swear to God.
Yeah. So, that's where I'm at on it. Like, what are they supposed to do? That's where we at.
You got to ask yourself a second question. The why, right? Why doesn't black media exist, right? Why? Why doesn't black advertising agencies exist? So a bulk of the $5 million that they spend with Burrell. Now Burrell, I don't think Burrell's black owned anymore. It used to be black owned. Tom Burrell's interesting case study. People have certain feelings about Tom Burrell. I got a personal relationship with Tom Burrell, so I don't necessarily feel that way. I think he's a very interesting cat.
So I felt about Dr. Finney. We talk about black media.
But it's always getting back to the why. It's the Jackie Robinson conversation, which is why I said capitulating, right? We celebrate Jackie Robinson going to the league, but in essence, when Jackie Robinson goes to the league,
it destroyed the Negro League.
It destroys all these other opportunities that black people had via the Negro League.
Now it's 20 black people in baseball.
Right, and it wasn't just about baseball. It was about all the shit that was, around baseball.
Yeah.
All the
Each major league team might have one black person on it, maybe two.
Yeah, so but I'm talking about all the stands, the food, the vendors, the uniform makers. Everybody else lost their job because Jackie Robinson got one job. Yeah. But that's the capitulation part, right? We cheer and we praise, like, hey. So even that's part of the conversation.
Because we want to be over there with them. That's what I'm saying right now. Like, we are there. We are over there. So if McDonald's like, yo, we need to get a message to the black people. Where the black people at? Because we got what's in it for the black people media. We talk black shit every fucking day, all right? It ain't the number of black people here ain't the number of black people at Clear Channel or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean?
But all I'm trying to do is draw the line from what capitulation gets you. Eventually, you just become the bitch. So when Jackie Robinson became the first Negro League player, in the eyes and the minds of all the people around him, hey, this is a door to opportunity for us to play in the majors. Because the majors look like more money.
Yeah, it was the okie doke.
And it is more money for Jackie Robinson. Yeah. It might be more money for the other 10 other brothers that they might pull up, right?
Every single time I start this show, we're not talking about the individual. More importantly, we're talking about the collective. Cool for you, Jackie Robinson. You just fucked everybody else, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, cool. And I'm saying, like, you talk about capitulating, and then you just become a bitch. Well, once you become a bitch, people treat you like a bitch. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? Once the reputation gets out in the neighborhood, in the school, in the fucking dorm, in the fucking prison, that's what you are. Everybody's gonna treat you that way. So why wouldn't McDonald's treat us like bitches?
And that's what happens.
You a bitch. What you say? I got $1.4 billion on it. I'll give you 5. Matter of fact, I'll give you 10, but you got to give me like 2 years to come up with this other 5 million. Cause fuck you. It's my bike, punk.
Well, I make $60 billion a year off your community.
It's my bike, punk.
But again, it's economic apartheid. And it's not just happening in advertising, it's happening across the board. So what happens is because the money doesn't trickle back, we can't create opportunities for ourselves and for other people, right? As a citizen of this country, when you make that, it's like the concept of schools. You pay taxes, so that money gets refunded to your schools, right? But when you look at the breakdown of it, it doesn't get refunded to our schools in our neighborhoods because one, we're not creating the tax revenue to do so,
right?
But it just gets spread out how they want to spread it out,
right?
you're getting robbed. And as a citizen of this country, you have a demand to make here. But here's where we come into play with a different kind of problem with the disconnect between the culture of just being black. Going back to the conversation that Mays was having earlier and where the lack of trust comes into play. Byron Allen creates this lawsuit and says, hey, I'm going at your ass. Now, Byron Allen is on his way to becoming one of the largest network owners in America, right? Quietly. Well, not quietly so much no more, but he positions himself quietly, and now his ass is there like, I'm a big boy, you got to play with me.
Yeah, he's also going to be stricken with a terminal illness soon, or he's going to go to prison.
Maybe so, but this ain't just about him, right? So, but some of the backlash, they was talking about this, and I can't remember the brother's first name, but his last name is Carr. He's a professor at maybe Hampton or Howard.
Okay.
Used to be doing shows with Nick Cannon and stuff like that. He's relevant in the scene. And he was like, man, my only pushback is Byron doing this for the people, or is Byron doing this to fatten his pockets, right? Now, he's leveraging the people, but he's definitely doing it to fatten his pockets, right? And therein lies the disconnect of trust between us, right?
Yeah, because it could be both. Like, you can do both. It's about your value set and what you're using the money for and how you're going about doing it, right? Nobody, again, as much as we talk about, anti-capitalism and all that shit.
God, thanks, guys.
Nobody's saying that, you got to be fucking broke and poor, right? Nobody's saying that, right? You can do both. Is he doing both? I don't know.
But see, I think there's a line there, and I'm not sure if you can do both. I'm not saying I'm not sure if you can do both, but traditionally in our community,
right,
it doesn't work that way.
Right.
It's like the crabs at the top.
Right.
Fall over the barrel, get out, get loose. Fuck y'all.
Right.
I'm gone.
Very few Harriet Tubmans.
Very few. Right? I'm gone. So that becomes the conversation. Same conversation is happening around the weed legislation in Chicago right now. Can we trust you to not run away with the bag?
Right.
And traditionally, that's what we've done. But in the position that we're in right now,
all we can do is trust each other, in my opinion.
We don't have any leverage.
What's the alternative? Either I trust that you going to go get the bag and bring it back, or what? We don't have it anyway. You know what I'm saying? We don't have the bag anyway. So either I trust that my sister or my brother is going to go get the bag and then come back and make sure I fucking eat out of it, or not. Either way, if you run off with it, I ain't eating. And if we stay in the current state, I ain't eating. So my only hope is to fucking trust you.
So in the conversation that Greg Carr was having, he was talking to some sister, and I don't know her name at all. And he made that point, like, my only pushback is Byron doing this for the collective, or is Byron doing this for himself? And the sister's response was like, even if it's just for itself, I'm with it. We deserve it. We should be getting the bag. You know what I mean? And if he just gets the bag, I'm okay with that. And Greg Carr was like, no, that's not necessarily the right philosophy, because it's no gain to us while he's leveraging us. He's treating us like any other immigrant group. Yeah. Leveraging our pain and our struggles.
Poverty pimping.
Poverty pimping. I only said that to point out the differences in mentalities, even in just this conversation. These two people are having this conversation publicly, and Greg Carr articulated his point very well. Here's my pushback. I'm not saying I'm anti-Byron Allen in this lawsuit. I'm saying here's what I'm concerned about, right?
And that's reasonable. It's fair.
Which is a reasonable concern. You know what I mean? If you look at Byron Allen's history, he's not necessarily the blackest person in the conversation, right? Like, just keep it 100.
For sure.
Right? But the sister was like, fuck that.
Fuck it. Get to the bag.
If you can get it, get it.
Yeah.
I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but when you look at it, that's kind of how it plays out all the time. That's just kind of how we fucking move. And if you can get to it, then there's a almost beyond reproach type of value and reverence placed upon you, right? And it's like, yeah, don't worry about what he getting to it, right? And it's like, okay, fine, right? But there's a reason that I always say, like, the collective more important than the individual for this conversation, right? Like, that's what it has to be about.
Question though. So just using this specific incident, Sister saying, hey, I'm with it. If we think back to the Biden election and Cube saying, hey, we shouldn't really vote for Biden, or Trump until one of them makes us an offer.
Mm-hmm.
And then the collective backlash of the collective conversation was Cube got some personal gain. They started talking about his dealings with the big three.
Yeah.
And it was like, everybody was like, fuck him. It's a personal gain thing.
Right.
Then Byron Allen comes out and we got people saying, well, if it's just about personal gain, I ain't mad at it.
Right.
How can we have it both ways? Why is it okay for her to have that thought, but not okay for Cube to move that way?
Well, one, I think that the other conversation, the Cube-Trump conversation, was just a bigger conversation. More people were even tuned into it, right? More black people in our community know who Ice Cube is than Byron Allen is, right? And the Donald Trump thing. Like, I would say, I think you'd be hard-pressed to walk up and down the street and ask somebody if they know about this conversation that we're having right now. You know what I mean? Versus everybody knows the Trump-Cube conversation, right? And so I think you just hear, it was just louder, right? And so you just hear more of it. I think you hear, there are a lot of people who would express the very same sentiment that the sister did in the conversation with Professor Carr, right? But it's just not amplified in the same way. You know what I'm saying? It's not the low-hanging fruit of Cube and Trump. It's Byron Allen and, advertising dollars. That's not as cute of a conversation for whatever reason. But I think that if it were, the response would be just as loud. You would hear just as many people saying oh, he, wait, I got you flipped, don't I? You saying, why is it okay for him to do it, but it wasn't okay for Cube to do it? Yeah, I don't think that, I don't know. I think it was the hate for Trump. I think that's really what it was, the fear and the hate for Trump that made it so visceral for Cube to be like, let me listen to him, right?
But I want to look at it from this vantage point too. So this is Byron Allen at McDonald's, and this is happening in this last week, right? The first lawsuit that Byron filed against, I think it was the U.S. Army, well, it was really against the U.S. government and their spending with Army dollars and how they spend black money, Army money with black targeted ads instead of with black firms. Now that conversation got some legs too, because it was before the election and it kind of it coincided with the thing the Q was pushing. Like, no, man, they cheating us out of their money. And in that conversation, Byron Allen also filed suit against President Obama, right? And that he became relevant in the black lexicon of conversation at that point. Like, more people began to hear about Byron Allen. And there was a lot of people like, no, he doing this for self. That was part of that conversation too.
Right.
It's about personal gain. And I'm not arguing this is about personal gain, but the implications of it, personal gain or not, feed the community need in a lot of ways, right? So just when George Floyd died, there was a windfall of black money from corporations.
Sure.
There was a win. I was on calls with the record companies where they was breaking down like $250 million that they were supposed to be donating to the black community. And that was just like record companies.
Yeah.
Right? So I know Procter & Gamble, Quaker Oats, and all them kind of companies that bust down some monies too.
You send me something on that, and then we got to get into that conversation in the 2 o'clock hour too, because you send me something on that.
Where's that money at?
Right.
Who benefited from that? Why is nobody talking about it? Right. But what happens is those people in those positions, those people who are already part of the conversation, they increase their flow. They increase their bag, and then they went away quietly while the rest of the community suffers. So I do understand what Dr. Carr is saying about the Byron Allen conversation. I fully understand it, right? But it's like, that's part of the capitulation conversation. It's only those people who are going to be mentioned in those conversations because they're close to the conversation. Yeah, so if the money doesn't trickle down from that group of people, it's never trickling down.
No.
I agree with that. How do we build or mend the bridge where they realize that, hey, we only got so long to do this have this kind of behavior before this isn't even an offer anymore. Like, this is, in my mind, this moment in time is really like, it's time for us to take our reparations, right? Not it being a government issue reparation, but a reparations via corporation by force. Because you are publicly having these conversations, because you are being called to the mat because of shit like George Floyd, and you got this kind of attention on this international attention on how black people are being mishandled. I saw somebody talking about Israel and Palestine the other day, a Jewish guy. He was like, I'm fully an American Jew. My children go to Jewish day school. But the first time I went to Israel and I sat down with the Palestinians, the only thing I could think about was maybe black folks in the Jim Crow South. Conceptually, him to say that out loud, there's a different energy happening right now. And we can maximize that energy. You know what I mean? But we can't maximize that energy if the gatekeepers only doing that shit for self-serving purposes.
Exactly. You can only maximize it if we all on the same page, on the same team, and moving for the same purpose, right? If we're moving for separate purposes, then we cannot maximize the opportunity. It's going to fall, right? There's a disconnect between who's making the decisions, who has the access, and the people who are trying to get to it, right? We see it play out in so many scenarios. Whether you talk about Cube Trump, whether you talk about Byron Allen McDonald, or you talk about fucking Joe Budden in the podcast, right? There's a disconnect between the gatekeeper or decision maker, Joe Budden, and the other motherfuckers that thought he was on their team, right? There's a disconnect there, and when that disconnect plays out, the other motherfuckers gonna lose every single time. And you know, it don't matter on what scale you're talking about that, on a small individual scale or on a large international scale, it plays out the same way. We got to understand that, and I think that if we understood that in a real way, we would move differently around the whole topic, around the whole issue about the economics and how we go about getting to power, right? We would move differently about how other people choose to get to the bread, because we'll hail certain people for how to get to the bread, even if it's some malicious stuff behind it. But in our own neighborhoods, if we don't like how you make your money, then we shun you, right? You're not valued no more. And I think that what we need to be figuring out is who is on our team, what that look like, and what we're trying to get to. And let every other decision we make be motivated and inspired by that. Our North Star is out of whack. And so I ain't mad at McDonald's. And I ain't mad at Byron Allen either. I don't know what he's doing, right? But I know that from our position, all we can do is hope that he's going to go and hold them accountable and then do right. And whether now right could look like him having his own network and, you know, blowing that thing up or whatever, or it could look like any one of a number of other things.
I don't know if hope is the answer. I think going back to Maze's conversation this morning, and that black slate conversation becomes interesting to me, because he said we should run a black slate that only deals within black issues without even the expectation to win. So what you're really doing, if you're moving like that, and you don't have the expectation to win, all I can really see you using that platform for is just that, the platform, right? It's a marketing tool, but now it's a free marketing tool in a sense. Like it's free press. So here's a way for me to get this message out to the masses, because they won't necessarily pay attention in any other way, right? When Biden got elected, I don't know if you remember this conversation, but when Biden got elected, we came in here and we had a conversation about the first 100 days. And we was also talking to Maze, and we was also talking to some heavy hitters in the black advertising world. And I said, man, what we need to do in this very moment is create a marketing campaign about the first 100 days and the expectations. Not in order to necessarily win or get that need met, but to keep it in the forefront of black folks' minds, right, that this could happen in this moment, right? Get beyond the idea of, think about how we even respond to shit. It's like anybody but Trump. Like, think about how these sayings arise out of our community. Anybody but Trump. You know, Obama's not just the president of black people.
Right.
It's all these kind of shit. Black Lives Matter.
Right.
Hands up, don't shoot.
Right.
It's all from a subservient positioning. Hope. Maybe you all will hear our cry. You know what I mean? When you all hear our cry, maybe you'll be empathetic enough to listen. Then we go back to extermination of the Bruce.
Right.
We don't give a fuck.
Right.
There's a scene in the extermination of the Bruce. Well, I don't know which colonizer this was, whether it's the English, the German, the Dutch, I don't know. One of them. They go to some obscure tribal community. And the tribal community says, hey, man, we don't want to fight. Whatever y'all want, y'all can have that shit. And the motherfucker's writing back to his people like, man, I'm mad because I ain't getting to kill none of these motherfuckers. Because that's what I came here to do. I don't give a fuck if they going to give me their resources. I came here to kill these people. You know what I mean? And until we get that through our heads, we're going to be fucked. So we got to think about it from the standpoint of how do we obtain power in a system built on that philosophy with a people who, one, don't have any understanding of it, and two, at some levels, I think are cowards.
I agree with you. Let's pause the conversation right there. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dive deeper into that conversation. If we can get your computer hooked up, there are a few things I really, really want to show. We're going to see if we can get that done over the course of the break. This is I Said What I Said, Howard and Toussaint for another hour. We'll be right back.
WIIFTBPM.
WIIFTBP. Media's just for you and me. WIIFTBP. Media's just for you and me.
Listening to the most dangerous show in the morning.
The Fraternal Order of Police. It is the President, John J. Catanzara Jr.
We all saw the Anjanette Young video.
Naturally, when someone hears, I didn't do it, you got the wrong place, you just discard it. You have an obligation to make sure that the rest of the place that you're doing a search warrant on is secure.
Okay, so you used the word naturally. And when you watch that video, naturally, a natural reaction would have been to provide her with some coverage for her naked body.
Have you ever been to police?
And so
Have you ever been to police?
Let me finish my question. So a natural reaction was not what we saw from those white police officers.
A natural police reaction is to secure the scene.
So a natural police reaction is different from a natural
Well, we're
human
talking about
reaction.
police. We're not talking about you going into a building. We're talking about the police going into a building.
Hence why in the beginning of the question, I related it to training. Are police officers trained to not see black people as human? And so police training would make them naturally react to see me as an animal?
I'm not even going to dignify that with an answer because that's just an ignorant statement to make. They went in there looking for an offender.
Who was not there.
Do you know that until you searched the whole place?
They did. They searched and she stood there naked.
And at that point...
After they had the scene secure, she still stood there naked.
Again, I already conceded the fact that they could have did a better job covering her up. But her race had nothing to do with it. And you're going to keep implying it. I'm going to keep telling you you're absolutely wrong.
Let me ask you a question. Is it a lack of training? Is it a lack of proper training?
No.
The most disrespected person in America is the black woman. We will kill you for our woman.
All day. Check it out. See, while you was on the corner trying to scrape up pack money, I was driving 80 stack trucks off rap money. I'm back money. If you want it, come to the hundreds and ask for me. Meet them OGs that'll blast for me. I'm right here. Ill Adidas, $400 jeans on me. Itchy with no safety, a loaded magazine on me. Southside, that's as wild as it gets. And no, I never sold crack. That's some house nigga shit. I'm not judging, but every man that's a man gotta stand by his principles, and I'm not budging. That's Mickey. You can take it how you want, but you can never be me. You can fake it how you want. I spit that uncut raw. You can bake it how you want. Break it down any way you like. You get the same result. Get in tune. The elephant in the room has now assumed pole position. Whoa. Oh. BJ, get him. Come on.
Reporting live from the gutter where that butter get gorillas jobs. That's why we call it work. The same work who get a nigga robbed. I throw my dice against the concrete. If the bitches pass, see you later. Grab my paper, tell her stay to kiss my ass. This the jungle, baby, I'm a lion. Try me, I'll be firing. The same banger saved Private Ryan. You the prey, you survive and hide. Better pray that them vultures and them rovers don't go flying by them. Them other niggas just so-so. How in the birth a nigga this hot in the cold go? I went from 20-inch assassins on that Osmo to the pretty 760 sitting low on them bozos. Those I big shoes, you motherfuckers is so slow. Get caught without your heat in these streets is a no-no. Baby need Pampers, daddy need that photo. It's bread or nothing, big old niggas, you see the logo. Whoa. Whoa. Come on, Scooter.
Look, I don't see a nigga alive. And if a nigga claim he better, then that nigga done lied. And if some niggas jump chose, bet them niggas done died. You can always spot a cobra by the look in his eyes. You look at his clique, check out his bitch, and look at his guys. Cause 9 times out of 10, all that tough shit be just a disguise. And that does it. I got the chrome Mac in a black luggage. Cause money ain't the root of evil, Jack is the lack of it. I stay different. I move around like y'all hate women. I'm starting to think this whole industry full of gay bitches. No checkers, it's a chess game. Catch me in the next lane. Fly nigga, bunch of ice on me like my chest frame. All money's pocketing that like a Hamas rocket attack. Explode profit and jacks where your moccasins black. Acknowledging that he resides. These scriptures is heathenized. Y'all couldn't paint the pictures that he provide. Eagle eyes, eagle eye on the beef out. Either scream peace or pull your piece out. The flow will knock your teeth out. From out west where we never put our rags down, nigga. If I ain't the best, most likely it's that rag town, nigga. That's me.
All I can see on this beat. Whoa. Hey, haters keep hating. Y'all inspire me. Chicago. West side, south side, north pole, east side. Stick your chest out. Whoa.
Welcome back, family. We are live from inside the What's In It for the Black People Media Studios alongside Toussaint Werner. My name is Howard. This is I Said What I Said on a pretty wonderful Wednesday here in the city of Chicago. Hope you all are doing well wherever you should find yourself in the world. Thank you all so very, very much for choosing to be a part of this conversation. We are aware that you could be doing anything else. Grateful that you're doing this. Thank you so very, very much. Shout out to everybody that is watching on the I Said What I Said page. Y'all are cracking me up. I appreciate y'all on the What's In It for the Black People Media page and on YouTube as well. Shout out to each and every one of you all. Thank you so much for being here. We've gotten into a conversation about, I guess, capitulation in its many forms, really, and kind of how it plays out from the streets to the suites. And we see it happen over and over again. You have referenced the record companies, and pledging, what was it, $225 million they pledged for to support to go towards racial justice, right? And a year later, I think the figure is just a small portion is what it says. Just a small portion of that money has actually been paid out, right? And so, again, I say, who should we be mad at for this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Is it these people for treating us like bitches, or is it us for acting like bitches?
Both and.
But I'm saying people gonna treat you how you allow it.
Yeah, and I agree, but I'm also saying that's what the road to capitulation leads to, right? And I think we got to understand the difference between what standing in your proper polarity looks like versus what capitulation looks like, i.e. why the idea that Mays talked about of the black slate is relevant, because the goal isn't even to win. The goal isn't to win elected office. If you're moving like that, I can't say that the goal would be to win elected office. The goal would be to educate the people that this is the thought processes that we should be having and going forward. Not just to have this title behind our name, right?
Agreed.
This title means nothing if we're not moving in this capacity, right? And I think therein lies the difference. So what we have now is we have a class of people who kind of, can code switch and play the game, i.e. the conversation we had about Obama going to Harvard and that having more value than the guy that went to Chicago State. but the guy at Chicago State actually has a relationship to the community. He would probably be better served in that position as a servant of the people, because that's what politics is about, service, right? By having a relationship to the people, right? So here we are, and I'm not doing this to specifically shit on Obama, but if you just look at Obama's history, India, Hawaii, Kansas, in what way, Harvard, you know what I mean? Like, think about every opportunity he's had. Everything. The only thing that was black in his whole life was coming to Algier Gardens.
Right.
Right? And by the time he came to Algier Gardens, he was set in his ways and determined to reach his goal, i.e. Kamala Harris. You know what I mean? Oakland, the wealthiest community in all of Canada. Then she goes to Howard. But she's already set in her ways and what she wants to do. So I know I need this authentic push. Her Howard experience is Barack's.
It's her validation. That's his Chicago time.
That's his Chicago time. It's their validation, right? But when you look at their history and just how they move, man, they're going to be very centrist kind of people because their ideas were shaped by those cultures and those communities.
But I think that we don't understand that it plays out that way kind of across the spectrum, right? We had this conversation we were talking about sports a couple weeks ago, right? And we were talking about the type of players that are getting drafted, right? Who are these football players that are getting drafted, right? And are there some with phenomenal stories that come from broken backgrounds and use their athletic ability and their work ethic and drive to get to this level? Absolutely. There are lots of those stories. But by and large, the athletes that you're seeing get drafted, these are athletes that come from some bit of access, right? It is not cheap to go through amateur athletics at the highest levels, right? It's not cheap. You got to have access to be on these teams. You have to have the equipment. Somebody has to have the time to even invest you in doing this shit, right?
Man, to your point, I'm going to real quick just interject.
Yeah, come on.
Eric had games this week. One of the coaches called me after the game, like, what you think? And I said, man, I think that you should have sat Eric down. And you should have played XYZ. I'm not going to say XYZ's name.
Sure.
And I said XYZ performed better than he did today, and I think he deserved a shot to be on the floor. You know what I mean? I'm not one of them parents that like my kid got to.
Right.
If you ain't producing, sit your ass down.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got to earn this in my house. That's my philosophy, at least.
Yeah.
And we ended up having a conversation about the XYZ kid, and the coach was like, "Man, I can't make that investment." And I was like, "Why not?" And he was like, "Cause he don't have you. He don't have the support system that Eric has. I can only make that investment in Eric." And even though my son benefits from me, it bothered me that he said that verb out loud to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it lets you know where the investment is. It's not in the kid. It's in the possibilities of what comes behind the kid. You know what I mean? And that's real. You know what I mean? That's the reality of the situation. But you don't get the best out of that.
No.
Just like I said, Shorty was performing better. That, i.e., he was the best. He should have been playing.
Right.
And you don't get the best results out of that. That's just what it is.
I agree with you. But to his point, right? If I'm trying to save some kids, right? If I'm trying to get somebody out of here, right? Then I'm going to go with the person who has the best shot, right? Is that right? Nah, it's probably not right, right? But what it does go to show is, and I'm gonna pull this up so y'all can see it on the screen here in just a second. When you talk about these athletes that make it to these levels, they come from places, right? We're gonna put some on the screen. It is Trae Young, right? Trae Young is a point guard for the for the Atlanta Hawks, and he's a really good basketball player, right? Nothing against Trae Young at all. He's a really good basketball player. But as you go through these photos, you're going to realize the access that Trae Young had at a very, very young age, right? Here he is with LeBron James in the locker room well before he got in the NBA. And that was probably when he was in college, killing, and you get that kind of access. But as we continue to scroll, you're going to see him in photos with Kobe.
Man, we're going to have to whoop May's ass.
What about?
He is in the comments wilding, G.
What is he saying?
Said, "Oh, look at the twins." It's kind of funny. The dude, I'm going to have to husk up a little bit so I can pull it off. He be irritated.
You could never pull it off.
He be irritated.
Could never pull it off. Although that May Said t-shirt was decent today. I want one of those May Said t-shirts. So
I would never.
I know you would. but I would. So I want one. Anyway, you see Trae Young in like high school with Kobe Bryant, right? You see him in like grammar school with Damian Lillard. You see him even like young Anthony Davis. He's like 10 with Kevin Durant. Who is this kid?
You know everybody.
You know what I'm saying? He's like 5 with Blake Griffin. You know what I'm saying? This is not like there's a level of access that these people have, and it plays out across the spectrum. It ain't just business. It ain't just sports. It's all of that shit, right? And so, you know, it's not surprising that certain people get to certain places. So this idea that, you know, Barack Obama is just like us, that's crazy to think that, right? Now, symbolically, is there value to it? Sure, there's some symbolic value to saying, here is a blackface man who is the president of the United States. There's value in that, right? But only to the point of hope, which was one of his slogans. And yes, we can, right? But can we? And are there really reasons for hope? You know what I'm saying? Like,
She Raw on YouTube said, hope is for cowards, warriors do.
Period. Like, but that was his slogan. And, you know, we believe that, right? Oh, I hope. Yes, we can. Yes, you can be a little boy from 71st and Jeffrey and be the president. Bullshit. Okay? That's not a fucking real thing. Okay? When it happens, let me know. All right? Like, it ain't, if you work hard enough. Bullshit. Because on the other end of the spectrum, if you are George H.W. Bush's child, then you could be dumb as fuck and still be the president.
What's the 50 line? Losers lose, winners win. We ain't got to pretend.
Period.
Yeah, I agree with that. But that's part of the narrative that's killing us as well, right? That's why nepotism in our community looks different than nepotism in other communities. One, because we don't own shit. Mm-hmm. But the nepotism, how we leverage nepotism in our community, and I don't want to specifically name any names, because it would just be a problem. But think about the political offices in this city and how many sons of those political people also reap the benefits of those political offices. You know what I mean?
I do.
So what are you doing behind that? And I know people have a specific thought in their head when I say that. I'm not specifically talking about that person.
I'm know it's
because it's more than one. It's a lot of them.
That's how it goes. That's how the game goes. Like, very few people come from outside of any given construct and ascend to the top of said construct. That's just not really how it works. It's just not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we got to change that narrative. I.e., the little kid that didn't get to play because of Eric got to play. That kid needs to play. He has a different in that moment. His desire was different.
Sure.
His vigor to win was different.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I.e., his skill set in that moment was more valuable. Same thing with the analogy of, you know, going to Harvard versus going to Chicago State. If that person in that Chicago State moment represents an idea for the times right now that is more relevant, he needs to be the player in the game.
I agree.
Right? And that's how we need to approach the rest of our being. I.e., and I hate agreeing with Mason this much, but it's real. That black slate makes sense, right? And a black slate based on creating the black narrative in a way that no one else can stray from it. You're going to have to deal with this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's the Marion Williamson, white woman run for president that gets on the presidential debate stage and talks about reparations. And now, even though she doesn't even make it to a primary, everybody else got to deal with reparations. We got to at least have this conversation because she put it on the fucking forefront. She was never a relevant candidate, but she made it to the stage, brought the conversation to the forefront. Now you can't fucking run from it. Right? And now we put even black people, other black people, the gatekeepers, we put them in a position to have to be responsible for those same ideas. They have to be accountable for those same ideas, or your flaw is going to be visible, right? And that's the moment we're in, and that's so. In regards to the Byron Allen lawsuit, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah,
but somebody has to be right next to Byron Allen saying, okay, even the brother Card, what he said.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to this concept, but this just can't enrich Byron Allen.
No, but it's about us being able to hold people accountable. It's about us having that warrior mentality. Like, okay, you can move this way, but within these parameters. And if you go outside those parameters, there's going to be a consequence to that. whether you with us or with somebody else, right? You have to deal with it. What?
These YouTube comments, I'm not even gonna read this.
Oh,
this is
like you gotta be able to move in a certain way with that. And for a litany of reasons, we aren't able to do that. I'm gonna show you one of those reasons that we don't have that type of spirit and mentality like right now. Like we are on some complete other shit, bro. And like just watch this video and see if this don't. I already know how you're gonna react to it. I'll just play it. Whoa.
Okay. Home movies by Herb Howard.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't get the sound to come through from on this thing, but whatever.
It was coming through. I can hear it on my headphone.
That wasn't in your headphones. That was coming out of my phone. I guess if I put the phone right
it's on. Yeah, let it rock.
You see this shit? Three supposed young kings, 3 supposed young warriors. She got them all fucking twerking. How the fuck how are we going how? And this little nigga twerks all the time. You see this shit? Like, how we gonna get a warrior class out of that?
I didn't realize those were boys.
Well, that's why I'm showing it. Those are 3 black boys. Okay?
Is that her parent? Is that their mom?
She's some lady of influence in their life. I don't know if she's their mom, auntie, but she has 3 boys doing that. And posting it on the internet.
Outside. No man is safe.
You know what I'm saying? How the fuck we gonna win a war with that? Right? And again, this ain't about fucking sexuality, okay? This is not gay bashing, right? You can be gay, you can be homosexual, and not be that shit, okay? How the fuck we gonna win a war like that, G? What are we doing?
Why do we do?
Because ain't nothing else. We get
back to Obama. And the Obama conversation he had the other day on NPR when I said they had the NPR podcast Redefining Black Masculinity, and Obama was the guest. And the most pertinent thing that he said in that conversation was that probably for the last 10 to 15, maybe even 20 years, we've been changing the narrative around the value of girls in American society. Even kind of to Celine's point where he was like, the future is feminine, and we are in the next wave of the future is women. It's female. In that new narrative, in that new shaping of a narrative, it's an idea that as a girl, you can do anything. You can do anything a boy can do. You can do anything. And one of the things that he said that was pertinent in my mind is that message isn't really constructed for boys. You can't do anything. That's not really a narrative for boys. And black boys is at the bottom of that metric. So I wonder what that looks like.
It looks like I don't find no value in being a black boy, and so I'd rather be a black girl.
And that's kind of the point I'm making, right? The black girl can do anything. The girl can do anything. Let me not say the black girl. The girl can do anything is the new narrative. And now there's this new idea of you can do anything too, even be a girl. And what I'm saying is that, again, going back to the statement I said that my nephew made, gangsters do what they want, suckers do what they can. And I said that's a flawed value system. Because men do what's necessary. And what we're seeing in that video you just showed is that accountability piece, and that's not all on sisters. I think it's terrible that she's parading in front of that.
Yeah, but there's a nigga who left them dudes.
Yeah, it's somebody who walked out of there who didn't stand in his polarity.
Right.
You know what I mean? There's a responsibility. But part of standing in that polarity, right, again, after capitulating for so long, you just become a bitch. You understand what I'm saying? One of them lessons is you got to learn to be able to stand in your light and take whatever arrows that come, because arrows is coming. You're going to get shot, B. That's just part of this shit.
Period.
Right? And you got to stand in that and own that and move through it.
And shoot back.
And move through it.
Yes.
You understand? And I'm not just talking about against the system.
No.
I'm talking about against your woman.
Yes.
I'm talking about against your mama. I'm talking about against your daddy. You got to stand in that and deal in that. But we've become we've capitulated for so long, and in so many ways. And I get it. I empathize in a lot of ways too.
I understand
when
it
everything
completely.
is against your ass at the while. It's like, man, I just don't fucking feel like
It's
fight.
the path of least resistance, right? I want
path of least resistance.
What like there's no path forward for me as a black boy, right? I see paths forward for black girls, right? Not a lot of them, and I don't think they're all that favorable or a good road to walk anyway.
In that McDonald's statement, the very next paragraph after wherever I left off reading was they made a statement about how much they support black women. They made that a point to make a part of that their narrative.
Right. There is a path forward there somewhere, right? Even if it's on a fucking pole. And so even if I'm a 9-year-old boy, learning to twerk is probably my best option right now. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell me all 3 of them boys would naturally just be fucking twerkers. Right? Now you say, 1 out of every 12 dogs is gay or whatever the statistic was. Okay, some people gonna be gay. Cool. Fine. Right? All 3 of these boys, whether they brothers, cousins, friends on the block, like that's what we doing, fam. They all making TikTok videos, twerking, shaking their ass.
Yeah, I'm never gonna agree with this shit. It's clown shit. Right? It's clown shit.
Even that, bro. Even that. If they were fucking if those were 3, 8, 9-year-old girls.
Let me ask you a question real quick. What's worse, this video or the video of the mother from Philadelphia, I think it was, when they was protesting the police a few years ago and the mama came out there and grabbed her son by the head and was slapping him upside the head like, what you doing out here protesting, fool? And then was championed and heralded across the goddamn country as being the greatest mom in the world? Which one is worse?
It's the same thing.
It's
It
the
is the
same
path
thing.
of least resistance, right?
It's the same thing.
There's too much resistance out there. Come in here, do some other shit, right? But it plays out every fucking where. It's why Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City to go play with Steph, Clay, and Draymond. It's a path of least resistance. I don't want to fucking deal with that shit, right? And it's just changed me over the time, right? Jordan could have went and played with Isaiah Thomas and them, right? That would have been a path of least resistance instead of them beating on his ass for the first 8 years of his career before he was able to beat them. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it's a different type of mentality that we see now, and you find that path, and you fucking just stay in it. That's kind of, I don't know, bro. I don't think anybody, and I understand it, G. Like I don't want to come at this thing like I don't understand the decisions that are being made, right? Because I do understand the decisions that are being made. I just know that they are not to our benefit. They are detrimental to our cause if we ever truly seek to change our circumstances here in this fucking country. But I don't know that we even interested in changing it no more. Like, let me just find a little piece of comfort within it, and whatever that looks like. If that looks like a little boy shaking their ass, then it looks like a little boy shaking their ass. And I don't fucking know, bro. You almost want to just throw your hands up at it like, well, fuck it, okay?
Yeah, but you can't throw your hands up at it.
I know.
And i.e. again, right, the conversation becomes the definition of the definitive when we said that the definitive of masculinity is really soaked in the environment that you inherit. You understand? Part of the beauty of America is that it creates an illusion of what is versus what is reality. You know what I mean? Going back to the McDonald's conversation. Right, to say McDonald's spends $5 million a year in black advertising, it's hard to believe because every time I turn on my radio or every time and I don't do it a lot, but I can't even think of a McDonald's commercial that's not centered around black people. I can't. You know what I mean? But there's a difference between black advertising and black targeted advertising. You know what I mean? Because that money flowed through white hands all the way through, from top to bottom.
There's a difference between black shows or black production and black ownership, right?
Difference.
So I'll sell McDonald's ads to the show Blackish, but Blackish is an ABC show.
Right.
So that's ABC's money, right? I targeted it to black people because I know y'all coming to see Anthony Anderson and Tracy Ellis Ross. Shout out to them. But that's a fucking ABC station.
I don't disagree. I.e. going back to Mazur's conversation about the black slate. Don't got the expectation to win. Let's just dispel the bullshit. You can't cross this line without talking about the real shit happening in our community. You can't play the hope conversation any longer. Right?
Who the fuck is you talking to?
You can't play that narrative anymore.
Playing me like I'm stupid.
I.e., going back to the ADOS conversations with Antonio Moore and Yvette Cornell, right? Even though the conversation is centered around reparations, what changes and makes them additionally valuable to the lexicon is that they bring in statistics and data. Here's how this really breaks down. Fuck all this hold hands, kumbaya
got on the shirt
ass
right now to say
songs.
What do you say?
Facts over feelings. Right? We not dealing in feelings, let's deal in facts. Right? And once you start to do that, you start to move away the mythical mythology, the magic of the shit. Right? Even the black girl magic shit, the black boy joy. Get rid of them monikers.
Stop it.
Get that Black Lives Matter. That shit out of here. This is a power conversation, a power construct. Here's where we don't have power. Here's why we don't have power. Here's where we do have power. Here's how we should leverage that power. Fuck with us or don't. But the lie ain't gonna work no more. Right?
That's where we should be.
I.e. McDonald's saying we're gonna double the numbers from 2% to 4%. While we're 13% of the goddamn American population. And probably I would assume if we spending $60 billion a year with your ass, I would at least have to argue a third of your profits per year. And I'd go further to say even more than that, probably. Because we are the people that live off that shit. Right? So if we're holding up your business from this end, then you owe us a responsibility to reinvest. The same conversation with the Arab corner stores or whatever.
Oh, no.
No. You get the fuck out. Right? Now, here's the negotiate. But
okay.
Right,
ain't the word, though.
Yeah, but there's a negotiation at play here.
The United States owe black people. These independent businesses, McDonald's and shit, corporate, I'm doing business with you. And if you're going to let me do business this way, I'm going to do business this way. Period.
They ain't really doing business, though. It's a difference because it was never a negotiation. That's why they get away with it. They're really stealing. Now, what we got to decide.
I agree.
So that ain't
if
business.
You letting me fucking steal.
That ain't the business though. So what we got to decide if we're gonna be cowards and watch the motherfucker who stole our shit walk past our house every day with our clothes on.
Every fucking day,
or we gonna whoop your ass.
That's my bike, punk.
We got to make a decision. But it's all connected conversations. You just saw the girl with the little boys twerking. Who the fuck is gonna approach the motherfucker who stole the bike if the little boy is dancing the twerk music?
That's why I played the video. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's like I'm to the point now, G, where I don't really even be. First of all, white shit, racist shit don't surprise me. I understand it. I expect it. Right. What pisses me off more now is our response to it or inability to respond to it. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, I ain't fuck what they doing. They doing what they always done, and they doing what they're gonna continue to do. Unless we force them to do something else. And we ain't forcing motherfuckers to do shit.
But that's the conversation. And again, right? So the instant response is, boycott. I ain't saying that because you can't create a boycott. That's part of the problem, right? We can't create a boycott in the community because we ain't on the same
It's
accord.
a vicious fucking cycle because where else can I get a fucking 99-cent cheeseburger?
That's true.
Where else can I feed 8 motherfuckers in this crib for $10?
That's true too. It's a hell of a piece. But again, that goes back to the conversation of being in your proper polarity and feeding the spirit, right? I.e. going back to the black slate. Feeding the spirit with honesty. I.e. Yvette Cornell and Antonio Moore having the actual data. Fuck your hope story.
Right.
Here's the real story.
Right.
The black father conversation where black fathers abandon their children. Think about how that permeates even in our own community, right? We just said it 5 seconds ago about why them boys look the way they look. Yeah. In a lot of ways, when you look at the data, that's not really true. It's not that they abandon their children, but they not standing in their light of manhood either.
No, because even the ones that are there are capitulating to some other shit.
To the woman there, because she's taking care of the whole shit. You still got to bow down because you're not in the polarity that you're supposed to be in. And because we are operating in a sickness, right, we don't understand the value of those gender roles. We have a public fight now about erasing gender roles, right? As if, maybe there's an argument they're a construct, but I think it's a construct that's fulfilling personally, right? And that's not meaning, I think we get misconstrued through the biblical lens of that shit.
Okay.
right? A woman should be subservient to the man. I'm not saying that at all. Right? I think we misconstrue what those gender roles really look like. Right? And if you really see the dynamic between a real, I don't want to say real, but most male-female relationships that work. Right? Just like the meme or the video that I saw when the dude was in the room by himself. I ain't clean these motherfucking dishes. I'm gonna smoke and I'm gonna play the game in the house. I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. I'm gonna do I'm run this. As soon as the woman come in, hey baby, what you want me to do? I'm sorry. Get the dishes. Okay, I'm gonna go do that. Right. That's how most of them situations really work. Right. My wife gets on my nerves 99.999% of the time. You understand me? But when she asks me to show up somewhere in whatever polarity, I'm going to do it 99.999% of the time. With no other expectation. It just is what it is. You know what I mean? So in reality, I'm a servant to her. Now, she should be a servant to me as well in a different capacity. It's not about being subservient or you less than. We're here to serve, i.e. male and female, create the energy of God. Right? And whenever that shit is out of balance, you got boys twerking. Or Snoop, Lil Snoop, the girl who the biggest gangster on the block. That's what you're getting because they are not in their proper polarities. And whether we talking about a household, whether we talking about a relationship between man and woman, whether we talking about our existence in the government narrative or in the political narrative, it's all based on the same shit. We've been lied to. We've bought into the lie. It's time to self-correct, right? When we went through COVID in the beginning stages of COVID, the world, the earth, did 300 years worth of repair just because humans wasn't populating the earth and they was in the house. In 1 year, there was room enough to make 300 years of repair. Right? I.e. that truth operates in the same way that COVID does. It gets you in a position to repair yourself.
Yeah, but you know, when you are so fooled or so blinded by the narrative, mythical as it may be, right? Then you don't understand how that plays out when even in terms of a Barack Obama. When you say, dude, while you were president for 8 years, all the fucking wealth in our community left. You know what I'm saying? Like that's on your watch that happened. But we championed that shit like it was the best 8 years in African American history. And it's because we don't fucking get it. We don't really understand the game that's being played. We playing it. I don't even want to say that we playing fucking checkers and everybody else playing chess.
We don't understand it. But going back to Meg's conversation about the slate. Now, what becomes interesting about that is who chooses who those candidates would be. Right? Because whose truth is the truth? Whose truth has the most validity? Whose truth holds the most weight? You know what I mean? Because there is a segment of our community who probably shuns every fucking thing we say in here.
Sure. 100%. I would say fucking 90% of our community.
Get that shit out of here.
Right.
So who becomes the person who chooses? Right? Do the people choose? How do the people choose? And at some levels too, it's about that leadership conversation. Right? Where I said, you know, most who come aren't called, and most who are called don't come.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The people who are really called, you got to get off your bullshit and show up. It's time.
That's it.
Right? Because most of the people who show up really already on bullshit.
They showed up on bullshit.
They showed up on bullshit. You know what I mean? Which is why that gets over. That's why it has, man.
But it becomes, again, but it's such a fucking cyclical thing because it's like, okay, if you were called, and then you looking at the shit, it's like, oh, that's bullshit over there. I don't want to fucking go over there. That's fucking clown shit, right? And so the clowns continue to show up, and they run the fucking circus. And you like, man, this is some bullshit. And it's like, well, you ain't want to fucking do the shit because it was fuck shit, right? But they gonna show up, and they gonna continue to be in those positions. And so it really just, I say it all the time, G, it's imperative for those of us who are aware of the problems and are actively engaged in solving the problems to just fucking get together and do the work. Because spending our time, one, worrying about who don't fucking know, or two, trying to get them, like, it's like, they don't fucking know.
Traditionally, and shout out to She Raw on YouTube, traditionally money chooses. Money chooses what voice is going to be the voice worth listening to.
Yeah, agreed.
right? But one of the dynamics that I think is valuable that Trump
Which
showed
makes the
us,
cause and cure the same thing.
that I think Trump showed us, though, is that if you can cut through the bullshit, respectability politics gets moved out the way fast, right? You think about Trump's election, and you think about the amount of money he spent versus the amount of money the other candidates spent, and they don't compare. But Trump had a radical truth to the people he was talking to.
Oh.
Right? And he was blatantly honest in the way that he was speaking to that demographic. Fuck them niggas and Mexicans is what he was saying, which is not the politically correct shit to say.
No, but he said it, though.
But he was basically saying, fuck them niggas and Mexicans.
He said it. He's unapologetic. They said,
Them
what do you
countries,
what do you say to white extremists who are terrorizing the country and committing these racist acts? I tell them to stand back and stand by. Right? Just wait a minute. Don't stop.
Our time is coming.
Just hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Radical truth.
Keep your shit cocked
For
and
that
loaded. Keep your shit
demographic.
loaded and cocked and just wait.
For that demographic.
Yeah.
Yeah, he moved all the money people the fuck out the way.
I ain't got nothing to do with nothing.
Right? Because now he's so adverse to what's normal. It's like, wait, how do we not focus on this?
He
Because
found-
what's the money do? The money dictates media. Right? But once you start, i.e. why they took away Twitter from him, i.e. why I go to Facebook jail every 5 fucking
Right.
days. It's the same shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So now this shit becomes so radical. It's like a car crash. It's horrible to look at, but you can't turn the fuck away.
But he's unapologetic. He ain't trying to go around the back door, right? He ain't trying to take the proper channels and the BPC. Nigga, we kicking the front door down. Okay?
Beulah asked, she says, do you think the same rules would apply to a black man who did the same thing? No, they kill his ass. But
you have a Minister Farrakhan who talks that shit to an extent. Because I've also been on the record as saying, Justice or Else in 2015, going out to DC, all the energy, everything was dope. He stopped short of saying what the or else was, right? Trump didn't stop short. He said, just hold up, okay? I'll tell you when we running in this bitch, okay? And that's exactly what they did. What Farrakhan was like, hey, everybody come here. It's time for us to do some shit. We got to get justice or else. Okay, cool. We know what justice looks like. What's the or else if it doesn't come? And as a black man, even an unapologetic black man, he was like, I'm going to stop short at saying what the or else is. Donald Trump was like, I'm a white man. Or else is we running in this bitch. Okay? Period. Or else is we'll kidnap her. Okay? Like talking about other political, like elected officials. Like, he's wild as hell, bro. There are good people on both sides. That kind of shit. We can't say that kind of shit, right?
So Salim says, yeah, but xenophobia is the easiest gambit. It ain't heroic. Now, I read Salim's comment first, but I want to read Sadiq's comment because I think it's a response to Salim's comment. He says, there are no white extremists. They are standard bearers for their culture. Xenophobia is the way of the country. You go to any lunchroom at lunchtime in any high school.
Yeah.
The groups are separated. It just is what it is.
Sure.
All I'm saying is when in Rome, do as the Romans. That's all. When in Rome, do as the Romans.
I agree with you.
Right? Now, I know there's other people that say you need to be above that.
Why?
I don't know. Right? Like, Michelle Obama said, when they go low, we go high. And I get that at some levels.
But that's just that moral shit we talk about all the time because that's all we ever fucking had. And what has that ever gotten us?
I said it's a conversation of power. You know
Right.
what I mean? So I get that, but I'm more so inundated with the idea of can you whoop my ass though?
That's what I'm saying.
Right? And at least prove it. And I think whether that wins it or not, I think it opens up the conversation for enlightenment and I think Salim speaks from an enlightened perspective, right? I think Salim has a different understanding than the vast majority of us. Salim can look at these nuanced ideas and have varying opinions.
He can see the full picture in totality.
Right.
And he understands
But I don't think that's who we're talking to in most instances.
No. But I think that he understands that in all likelihood, right? Worst come to worst, it all gets sent up. That's not a war we can win. He understands that, right? I understand that too, right? But we have, in my opinion, we have to get to a space to where we're like, yo, nothing is worse than what's already the fuck happening. And so if we send this motherfucker up and it's over with, then we send it up and it's over with. It's the video we showed of the slaves in the bottom of the ship getting pissed off. Like, man, you're going to be fucked in 100 years. You're going to be fucked in another 100 years. You're going to be fucked 100 years after that. We got to get to a space where it's like, being fucked 100 years from now is worse than sending this bitch up right now and losing. Like, that's just kind of where I'm at with it. That's where I've been at with it since 2015 or 2016 when the fucking election was coming up.
To the slave, at the narrative at the bottom of the boat from that film, the argument was, you fucked.
You're fucked, fam. How you going about this?
So you might as well play the best.
Down your feet, fam.
Yeah, down your feet.
Down your feet. Send this bitch up, okay? Them white people up there, they taking y'all to be fucked for the next 1,000 years, okay?
Yeah, down your feet. Stand for something to fall for anything.
What we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
It's that moment.
That's what I'm saying.
It's that moment.
Like, it's got to be like a point where it's like, okay, enough of this fucking merry-go-round shit. I know exactly how it works. I've seen it play out. I understand it. I know where all the booby traps are. I understand it's a catch-22 for everybody involved.
But this is also that moment where, you know, you hear the let's stop pontificating, let's stop talking about and start doing.
Because what if we fucking win?
Right.
I know what happens if we stay right here. If we stay right here, I know what happens. We've seen it, okay? And it continues to get worse. I know what happens if we stay right here. And maybe if we move.
Change is an outgrowth of discomfort.
That's it.
Right? So when we, as black men, see videos of our young boys popping their ass in the line. Right.
Or videos of our grown-ass men getting choked to death in the middle of the fucking street in broad daylight.
Or videos of our teenage boys getting their ass beat by their mamas because they're standing up for what they should be standing up for. I.e., we the most affected. So the responsibility should be on us. It's time to be accountable as men. Right. So in that vein, it's time to do. Right. And we, and even us in this room, we hold responsibility in that do part.
100%.
I don't know what the answer to that is, but I'm really intrigued by the slate conversation Maze was talking. But we need to move forward with some kind of public ideas. Like I told you, the 100 days
It's the shit that Marquand is doing. Right. It's all of that kind of shit.
Right. But we got to be louder. Right. We got to have a greater impact. We have, like, again, Chicago is ground zero for all things black. Right. During the Great Migration, Chicago essentially built up the largest American descendants of slave community in all of America, i.e. why Minister Farrakhan came to Chicago, i.e. why Barack came to Chicago, i.e. why Oprah came to Chicago, i.e. why they was able to become the people they became out of Chicago. Now Chicago's currently losing that population, right? Based on some of the ills we always talked about in this show today.
Yeah.
We're losing that population, and as they break up that population here, the ability to create that kind of an impact nationally might be done with. You know what I mean? It very well might be done with. So we're in a very interesting moment in time where it has to happen now, and it has to happen here, right? At least it has to start here. You know what I mean? And if it has to happen now, and it has to start here, then us in this room, us under the sound of my voice, us that was presenting shows earlier this morning, we all have a responsibility in leading that charge, even to the point of owning media.
Yeah.
Right. These microphones are more valuable than guns in regards to war, in regards to strategy.
It's always that's one of the very, very first things that any, army general or leader of any offensive tactic does, right? Shut down their ability to communicate. Okay, that's almost job number one. Shut down their ability to communicate in a war. That's it. And so it don't matter if it's Farrakhan, right? Get him off of Facebook. Or Donald Trump even. You know what I'm saying? Get him off of Twitter. All that kind of shit. It matters. It matters. To be able to amplify messaging. To be able to galvanize, organize.
Right. She Raw on YouTube said these are people who, that based on this conversation that you said didn't do much for black people when I was mentioning Obama, Oprah. Now I'm not running away from that statement. I'm not retracting that statement. What I'm saying is that the community that Chicago is
allowed them to ascend to the heights that they are as public figures.
Right. Now they used a strategy and a narrative, but they employed the community. All I'm saying is let's employ the same community with a more honest strategy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
it has to happen now.
If Michael Jordan played for the Memphis Grizzlies, okay, he wouldn't be the Michael Jordan that he is today. He would not be the international superstar that he is. Basketball
Chicago
skills be damned.
Is Chicago the black gatekeeper / capitulates capital? I don't think so. Honestly, I don't think so.
Now it can't be both, G. I mean, not that it can't be both. What I'm actually saying is, I think it has to be fucking both.
I don't.
I do. If this is Mecca, right? And this is where the fucking black shit is born out of, and this is where the black stars shine the brightest, then it also has to be where they're capitulating the most.
I still don't follow that logic.
It don't sit well in my soul. I love the city. I'm from this city. I bleed this fucking city.
It ain't even,
but that has to be true.
It ain't even about sitting well in my soul, right? We had to understand the game too. Right? So because Chicago is what it is, we often suffer the greatest ills that the black community in America has to deal with too.
Agreed.
It's easy to, when you think about the conversation of black on black violence, and Chicago becomes the epicenter for that too, becomes the mecca for that too.
Agreed.
Right? And most people from outside of the city don't understand that. Right? But if you inside the city, you do understand that. Because we all live compactly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
The west side and the south side are traditionally black communities. Right? And people who live on the west side don't come to the south side or the north side or no other side.
Right.
People who live on the south side don't go to no other side.
Be where you at.
You be where you at. You know what I mean? So you're not engaging beyond that. And because it's such concentrated energy, it's easy to concentrate the poverty. So when you grow up out of this, you got to be a special motherfucker. I didn't say Faircon came from here, and I fuck with Faircon. Don't misconstrue my words.
Right.
Oprah didn't come from here.
Right.
I'm saying they leveraged the energy from here.
I agree with you.
Right? That doesn't make us the greatest capitulators. We just up against the greatest odds.
I don't even mean natives per se, right? I mean people who leverage this city for being Mecca have to be the biggest capitulators. And if I'm being totally honest, we are complicit as natives here, right? When you get a Jeff Fort to say on TV, okay, to the fucking police, it ain't gonna be no killing without no killing, right? That is the type of energy that we need to be fucking moving with. But what do we do to those type of people? We shun them, right? They violent and they selling drugs and they destroying the community. Are those things happening? Sure, not saying that they aren't happening, right? But you leverage those things for upbuilding of our fucking own kingdom.
Okay, cool. And there's people in the comments.
But we run all that off, and we still do it now.
There's people in the comments agreeing with you. Ready Rock specifically. Both y'all wrong. Now, just for clarity's sake, I think what happens though is because it's such concentrated energy, the impacts of that concentration gets a bigger light. If you're in Dallas or if you're in wherever you're at, everybody is a capitulator. It is the standard. Just because of that concentration here, it's some pushback at least. We on the fucking air right now saying, hey man, fuck your Harvard degree.
Agreed.
Now,
right? But we're also on the air saying, let's leverage the folks and the Lords and the Stones to get some real fucking power here. And the majority of black Chicago would be like, hell the fuck no. Right?
So
the majority of black Chicago is on their little crime app and say, it's wild as hell. They done stole another car over there. They shooting over there. It's dangerous over there. I can't drive over there. I can't walk over there. Motherfuckers is
pure
eating up the fucking fear, hook, line, and sinker, and they shunning our entire culture for it.
Pure punk shit, and I agree.
Yeah, that's capitulating at its
the
finest.
The vast majority.
Yes.
I agree. But if you're in Dallas, it's everybody. We gotta leverage the 10%.
But it also doesn't fucking matter as much in Dallas. It also doesn't matter as much if you're in Dallas. Because this is Mecca, it matters more here. It matters more here.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
I could agree with that.
Yeah. You know,
I'm just saying, I've been to Dallas. Them niggas scabby.
I've been to Dallas a lot.
You know I've been to places where black people still look at the grab when white people walk past.
Yeah, G. Yes.
It's different, G.
To the point to where this has happened to me at least a handful of times in my life. I've been out of town. I've seen a complete fucking stranger. Did not have a single conversation with them personally. I was like, I think they from the crib. And then in striking up a conversation with them, they be from the crib. There's an energy. You can pick up on it.
Bro.
Like, I think they might be from the crib, right? And you talking like, oh, yeah, I kind of thought you might have been from the crib. What gave it away? I can't even fucking articulate it, but I saw it. I recognized it. And so, you know, I think it's both, G. Yeah, it's Mecca. Yeah, we about that. But because of that, by its very nature, in my opinion, that has to also make this the place of large-scale capitulation.
I don't disagree. But I think the black population, the black demographic across the country capitulates. Because the goal is economic empowerment. At least that's the idea, right? And we don't hold any of the economic power. So in order to play the game, you have to dumb down your light a little bit. At least that's the philosophy that we come to the table with. And in most instances, when the people, the dominant society has spent their entire existence in diminishing our light, then that is probably the only way you get to play. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
But most people,
or at least could not play that fucking game.
Historically, you know, people who got in those positions from underclasses. Well, I'm not gonna say historically because that's not true. But the goal should be to, if it's a power game, if I gotta play the game, I'm playing the game to obtain power, not to coexist or not to assimilate or align myself with the ideas and philosophies of the dominant group.
We don't understand it in that way. All we want to do is assimilate. All we want to do is be accepted. All we want to do is be where they are. And it don't fucking matter, right? If you're gonna try to play that fucking game, you're gonna fucking lose, right? Send the deck up. We gotta go.
Stop capitulating.
Y'all make sure y'all hang out with us here on the network tonight. Starting at 6 p.m., it is Chris the Critic. Then we're gonna have In the Zone with Brian Foster. Then Week Whole Wednesday with Reese and Toy, Reese Earl Jones and Toy Norwood. Here on the network, we'll be having fun tonight, man. 6 o'clock. Y'all make sure y'all come back. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon, man. Thank y'all so very, very much for hanging out with us yet again here on I Said What I Said. We appreciate y'all, man. We appreciate y'all, and we love y'all dearly. What's up, broski?
We got a guest coming on Friday for Relationship Friday. Okay. I can't remember the name, but he's an R&B guy, and he has a song. I'm going to tell you the title when we get off air.
Okay.
But it's going to be fully up your alley. You're going to get to cross all the lines you want to cross, and I've agreed to pretend like I care. So Friday is going to be
you going to engage in the conversation?
It's going to be a habitual line cross conversation.
Hey, we shaving balls. We got to go, man. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. For Ron Rilla, for Toussaint Werner, my name is Herb Howard. We'll catch y'all on Friday. Until then, y'all be good to each other. Peace.
Assalamu alaikum.
WIFTPM.
You about that life? I'm about that life. You ain't really about that life. If you really about that life, JC, spit a key. Let me test your word. Boss, you the boss? Let me test your word. Jesus, you talking breezy? Let me test your word. Cam, you the man? Let me test your word. Dre and Snoop like that chronic. I need something.